So despite AH pledging that she would move on with her life once the verdict actually came in, she ended up losing the court case. After that, all bets were off. And this is a show of it right here. We have 10 minutes of what's going to be an hour exclusive interview coming up with today. You know exactly how this is going to be painted. I haven't watched this. You and I, we're going to react together to it live. Fun times, huh? Fun times indeed. So hey there, and let's get started.
It's been about more than a week since the verdict. As you sit here with me now, has it sunk in?
Watch the overacting. It's going to start. You can already feel it.
How could it?
There it is.
Surreal and difficult. In part, yes. This has been a long time coming.
Oh, the loss has been a long time coming. That's right. It has. 6 long years since you said all of those things. Yep, it has been a long time coming.
Do you stand by your testimony and your accusations against Johnny Depp about abuse?
Of course. To my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony.
Of course, she has to stand by it. And again, you see all of these examples of how she tries to overact, but no tears cannot make herself cry. Like her acting coach said, that's beyond her range.
The real-life drama of the defamation case between Amber Heard and her ex-husband Johnny Depp captivated millions of people around the world.
I bet you, going into this right now, this is going to be the attack on fans. And it's going to be the attack on jurors. I bet you, and I haven't watched this yet. Let's see where it goes.
Heard just got exposed.
Johnny, you hit me.
This is so cringe.
With clips spreading across social media like wildfire.
Social media.
I think vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that this trial is an example of that gone haywire, gone.
I told you, I knew it was going to go there. Let's see. They're going to spin this into jury next. Watch.
Amok. And the jury is not immune to that.
You think the jury saw it?
How could they not? I think even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this.
That is so insulting, by the way, to go after the jury and to say that it's not her fault. That's the way that she defends herself all the time. Not her fault. She's not the one that shouldn't be believed. No, it was the social media circus, right? People are reacting to who they saw there. If they thought that she was telling the truth, do you think that people would have reacted this way? No, absolutely not. But millions and millions of people agreed she wasn't telling the truth. It's as simple as that.
People online and crowds outside the courthouse made it clear where they stood.
Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks.
Okay, I bet you money that she's going to go into some kind of crazy story about what people were doing out there. Something insane. You know, the microwave thing. I bet you money there's something like this ahead.
City blocks lined with people holding signs saying, "Burn the witch."
There it is.
Death to Amber. After 3.5 weeks, I took the stand and saw just a courtroom packed full of Captain Jack Sparrow fans.
That's not it at all either. You know, you're not a Captain Jack Sparrow fan. How could you tell? Oh, yeah, that's right, because you haven't had any movies that anyone would be back in the courtroom being fans of yours there, right?
Who were vocal, energized.
Can you put into words how that felt?
Right?
This was the most humiliating and horrible thing I've ever been through. I have never felt more removed from my own humanity.
Boom, dehumanized, like I told you.
I felt less than human.
Let's go back to the day of the verdict. Were you feeling confident?
That's a great question. I wish I could say yes to that.
We're acting again?
I want to say yes to you, but it wouldn't be true. Even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't tell me look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation.
See that right there? Even if you think that I'm lying, that bothers me so much too. Even if you think I torched that guy's life, well, I'm not being treated fairly, am I? Oh yeah, if I believe that you're lying and I believe justice was served, people should call you out, and they should be calling you out and continuing to call you out.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
After the 6-week trial, the jury found Heard defamed Depp in a 2018 Washington Post op-ed in which she wrote she was a public figure representing domestic abuse. She never mentioned her ex-husband by name.
They play that game over and over again. Again, that was a portion of the defense that was shot down. It didn't matter if they mentioned his name. Everyone knew who it was about. It doesn't have to have his name in it. You can tell what these kind of hit pieces, and that's what this is, by the way. This is an interview. It's slanted in one way, and it's supposed to go after the judge, the jury, the public. Again, anyone that saw through this lie.
Depp denied the abuse allegations in court. Heard won just one of 3 claims in her countersuit against her ex-husband. That verdict came less than 2 years after a judge ruled against Depp in a similar case in the UK.
A similar case? No, it was a libel case between the NGN News Group newspaper and Dan Wooten. In that, you had her not as a party, but as a witness. You weren't allowed to ask her anything or take her to task. Even the Virginia judge said that this was not justice. But hey, let's pretend the two are the same, right?
Which he sued a British newspaper that called him a wife beater.
There was another trial dealt with the same substantive issues that had even more evidence in. In fact, mine.
Oh, they're going to play that game, though. Again, even more evidence. I swear. I had medical. I had all of these things.
My evidence was largely kept out. Really important pieces of evidence kept out. Done differently, handled differently by a judge instead of a jury.
Some evidence is admitted.
Yeah, a judge instead of a jury. I love the elitism in this stuff, too. If we would only have the media tell us what happened instead of people seeing itself. If there was only a judge instead of a jury of your own peers, maybe it would be different. Isn't it amazing seeing the elitist mentality?
Admissible in a UK court that is not admissible in a US court. Do you think that maybe he just had better lawyers?
I will say his lawyers did certainly a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues.
For some people, they just were frankly disgusted by the whole thing and don't have much sympathy for either one of you. Can you understand that?
Absolutely. I would not blame the average person for looking at this and how it's been covered and not think that it is Hollywood brats at their worst.
The average person is actually horrified by the idea that someone went out, set another person's life on fire, and they saw what that was comprised of. The average person doesn't think mutual anything. This is just yet another media point gone amok.
But what people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that. This is
they're going to go into weaponizing identity.
This is not only about our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects free speech. It doesn't protect lies that amount to defamation. And that was the issue in the case.
Yes, exactly. You can't go the free speech does not protect you if you go into a crowded theater and you scream fire. We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks. My understanding of what that means.
Oh man, I'm gonna get a history lesson on free speech from her. While again, remember, these are the same people that tried to burn my channel down for over a year. They hit me 9 times on my channel alone, got 9 strikes. That's why I came up in this case over and over again, because they are obsessed with my channel. It was just insane, but they want to talk about free speech. And you know that idea she just put out there about yelling fire in a theater, yeah, but you can set someone's life on fire, right? That's totally okay.
Means is not just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
But truth is the word.
But not your truth to power, not just some words you made up, actual truth to power.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke. And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
Right. Her
In the
op-ed
closing
repeated yet
arguments,
again.
the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers. I'm the performer.
Wait, what? The lawyer convinced the world that he had scissors for fingers, not the guy that was really worded terribly. Camille Vasquez convinced us all he had scissors for fingers. Awesome.
I had listened to weeks of testimony insinuating that, or saying quite directly that, I'm a terrible actress.
You are.
So I'm a bit confused how I could be both.
The Depp team argued that you were the abuser, that you instigated physical violence. Did you?
I never had to instigate it. I responded to it.
She responded to violence with violence. I love that excuse there. Oh, yeah, I was violent, but you know what? It wasn't my fault. Beautiful excuse there. You got busted as an aggressor. You're like, no, not me.
When you're living in violence and it becomes normal, as I testified to, you have to adapt.
You say you were responding, but there is evidence. There are tapes in which you acknowledge hitting.
Yep.
There are tapes in which you say, I started the fight.
I know much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear in those clips are not evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation of how to talk about that with your abuser.
What's astounding is that anything that she said could actually be used as a defense for JD again, and a jury believed him there. Those messages, apologies, well, that could be someone trying to placate their aggressor, but that doesn't matter. Not in this case, right?
I'm looking at a transcript that he says, you start physical fights, and you say, I did start a physical fight. I can't promise you I won't get physical again. I mean, this is in black and white. I understand context. But you're testifying and you're just telling me today, I never started a physical fight, and here you are on tape saying you did.
As I testified on the stand about this, is that when your life is at risk, not only will you take the blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or I do with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's anything but when you're living in it.
But then there are other times, there's another tape where you're taunting him and saying, oh, tell the world, Johnny Depp, I, a man, am a victim of domestic violence.
20-second clips or the transcripts of them are not representative of even the 2 hours or the 3 hours that those clips are excerpt from.
Yeah, so, of course, you need to listen to the times they excerpt clips. But when she's saying, hey, I wasn't punching you, I was hitting you, tell the world, Johnny, tell the world, I am a man, am a victim of DV. See if they believe you. Oh, those aren't indicative of the situation. You don't really understand what was going on. Gotcha.
Could your side have just put the whole 3 hours in then?
I'm not a lawyer. As I testified to, I was talking in those recordings as a person in extreme amount of emotional, psychological, and physical distress.
He says he never hit you.
He
never. Is that a lie?
One tape that should get in, and you need to check this out if you're looked it up, is incredibly average. Listen to what came out of Australia. All of that didn't come in, but that shows you exactly who this person is. It's clear as day. There's 3 hours of tape that picked up. All told, you have a huge section of it right there, and it shows you exactly who she is.
Yes, it is.
What about the witnesses who said they have seen you instigate physical violence?
I've seen firsthand how people will file rank and support the person they depend on.
Did they all come in and lie in court?
Does that include Kate Moss? Does that include the police? Do those people, do they all come in just as part of the circus too? She says, of course, everybody, unless they walk lockstep with me. It's astounding, right?
I am not here to call any of his witnesses any names. I'm here to just kind of talk about it from what it felt like for me as the person who sat there.
Acting again.
When I asked his lawyers, why do you think you won? And the answer I got was, because she never took responsibility for anything she did in the marriage.
I did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout my relationship. I behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable to myself ways. I have so much regret.
She regrets she got caught. That's what we hear here. She got caught.
And openly and voluntarily talked about what I did. I talked about the horrible language. I talked about being pushed to the extent where I didn't even know the difference between, right and wrong. I will always continue to feel like I was a part of this, like I was the other half of this relationship, because I was. And it was ugly and could be very beautiful.
But you said it go all the way back to 2012 and that he was a monster all the way up there. See, none of this makes sense. None of her testimony, when you look at it. She can go through and she can try to explain a snippet here and a snippet there. But the reality is there were more than just snippets. There are tens of thousands of pages of documents, hundreds of thousands even. I went through them all. It took me years to get everything through. And what I saw at the end of the day was an absolute monster looking back at it. And it wasn't him. I mean, that was clear, and it was clear to the world.
It was very, very toxic. We were awful to each other. I made a lot of...
Still fake, no crime.
A lot of mistakes.
Tears.
A lot of mistakes. But I've always told the truth.